Hello Man United fans, here big news, the truth about Manchester United. Is Ruben Amorim really in trouble? You wake up on a Wednesday morning and check your phone. Manchester United lost to Grimsby Town. Wait, what? You read it again. Yes, Manchester United actually lost to a team from League Two. Your heart sinks. This cannot be real. But it is. This is the moment that changed everything for Ruben Amorim at Manchester United. One match that made everyone ask the same question. Is this manager the right man for the job? What really happened? The story behind the headlines. Let me tell you what actually happened at Manchester United recently. And let me separate the facts from the fiction that has been floating around social media. Ruben Amorim is the manager of Manchester United. That part is true. He took over the job in November 2024 after the club fired Erik ten Hag. The club paid a lot of money to get him from Sporting CP in Portugal. Everyone was excited when he arrived. But since then, things have not gone according to plan. The team has been struggling. They have lost games they should have won easily. The fans are getting frustrated. The media is asking tough questions. Then came the match against Grimsby Town in the Carabao Cup. This is where everything went wrong for Amorim. United lost the match, and it was embarrassing. Really embarrassing. The Grimsby Town disaster. What actually went down? Let me paint you a picture of what happened that night. Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, travelled to play Grimsby Town. Grimsby play in League Two, which is the fourth level of English football. On paper, this should have been easy for United. Their players cost more money than the entire Grimsby Town squad combined. Their weekly wages are probably more than what Grimsby spends in a year. But football is not played on paper. It is played on grass with 22 players and one ball. And on that night, United looked like they had never seen a football before. They went behind early. Not once, but twice. Can you imagine how the United fans felt watching this? Their team was losing 2-0 to a team 4 divisions below them. It was like watching David beat Goliath, except you were rooting for Goliath. United did fight back and made it 2-2. For a moment, it looked like they might save some face. But then the match went to penalties. And this is where things got really bad. The penalty shootout lasted forever. 26 penalties in total. During all of this, Amorim could not even watch. He kept his head down, staring at the ground. He looked like a man who had given up hope. In the end, United lost. They were knocked out of the cup by a team that most people had never heard of. It was one of the biggest upsets in recent memory. What did Amorim really say after the match? After the match, Amorim faced the cameras. He looked tired and defeated. But what he said was interesting. He did not make excuses. He did not blame the referee or bad luck. Instead, he was brutally honest. He talked about how his team started the match without intensity. He said they looked completely lost on the pitch. These are strong words from a manager about his own players. He also hinted that his players were not following his instructions. He said they had spoken loudly about what they wanted through their performance. This was not a compliment. He was saying his players were doing their own thing instead of what he asked them to do. The most telling moment came when he talked about change. He said something had to change, but you cannot change 22 players again. This showed he understood that the problem was not just one or two individuals. The whole team was struggling. How much money has United actually spent? Here is where things get really frustrating for United fans. The club has spent enormous amounts of money in recent years. They are not a poor club that cannot afford good players. Just to get Amorim, they paid around $21 million. This included paying off Erik ten Hag and buying Amorim out of his contract with Sporting CP. That is a lot of money before the new manager even coached his first game. Then there is the money spent on new players. Reports suggest United spent around $200 million on new signings in the summer. $200 million. That is enough to buy several smaller clubs. So what do they have to show for all this spending? A team that loses to Grimsby Town. Players who look confused every time they step on the pitch. A squad that does not seem to understand what their manager wants from them. This raises an important question. Is spending money the solution to United's problems? They have been throwing cash at the problem for years now. Different managers, different players, different strategies. But the results stay the same. What is really happening in the dressing room? One of the most concerning things about United right now is what might be happening behind closed doors. Football is not just about what happens during matches. What happens in training and in the dressing room is just as important. There have been reports that some players are starting to question Amorim's methods. Now, we need to be careful here. Some of these reports might not be true. Some might be exaggerated. But where there is smoke, there is usually fire. When players start to doubt their manager, it creates problems. They stop playing as a team and start playing as individuals. They second-guess every instruction. They lose confidence in themselves and in the system. This is particularly dangerous for a manager who is still new to the club. Amorim has not had time to build strong relationships with all his players. He does not have years of success at United to fall back on. The question is this: are the players really turning against Amorim? Or are these just rumors started by people who want to create drama? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Is the board really backing Amorim? Despite all the problems, reports suggest that the United board still supports Amorim. They are not planning to fire him immediately. This makes sense from a business perspective. They just spent millions to bring him in. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, one of the club owners, apparently still believes in Amorim. But believing in someone and seeing results are two different things. How long can this support last if results do not improve? The board is in a tough spot. They know that constantly changing managers is not the answer. United have had many different managers over the past decade. None of them have been able to fix the fundamental problems. But at the same time, they cannot ignore what is happening on the pitch. Losing to Grimsby Town is not acceptable for Manchester United. The fans deserve better. The players should be doing better. So what is the solution? Give Amorim more time and hope things improve? Or cut their losses and start over with someone else? There are no easy answers. The players, are they part of the problem? While everyone is focused on Amorim, we should not forget about the players. These are professional footballers who earn huge salaries. They are supposed to be among the best in the world. Yet many of them are playing well below their ability. Some were bought for tens of millions of dollars. They were supposed to be the missing pieces that would make United great again. Instead, they look lost and confused. Is it fair to blame everything on the manager? Should the players take some responsibility for their performances? This is a debate that United fans have been having for years. The truth is that both the manager and the players probably share the blame. Football is a team sport. When a team fails, everyone is usually at fault to some degree. But professional footballers should not be losing to teams from League Two, regardless of tactics or management. They have a responsibility to perform at a certain level, no matter what is happening around them. The Burnley test. Make or break time. The next big test for United and Amorim is their match against Burnley. This game is being described as crucial for the manager's future. But is that fair? Should one match determine whether someone keeps their job? Burnley are not a weak team, but they are the type of opponent that United should beat comfortably. If United lose this match, it will create even more pressure on Amorim. If they struggle to win, people will ask more questions. If they lose, some might say it is time for a change. The pressure on the team will be enormous. Every player will know that their manager's job might depend on how they perform. Sometimes this pressure can motivate players to raise their game. Other times, it can make them nervous and more likely to make mistakes. For Amorim, this match is a chance to show that he can still get his players to perform. A good win would not solve all the problems, but it would give everyone some hope. Could Amorim actually quit? Here is something interesting. There have been suggestions that Amorim might consider leaving United if things do not improve quickly. This would be unusual. Most managers fight to keep their jobs, even when things are going badly. Why would Amorim consider quitting? Maybe he is realizing that the Manchester United job is harder than he expected. Maybe he is starting to understand why so many other good managers have failed at Old Trafford. There are even reports linking him with a possible return to Portugal. Some suggest he could join Benfica if certain conditions are met. This would be a strange career move, going from one of the world's biggest clubs back to Portuguese football. But maybe Amorim values his reputation more than the prestige of managing United. Maybe he would rather leave on his own terms than be fired later. The fact that resignation is even being discussed shows how serious the situation has become. When a manager is thinking about quitting rather than fighting to improve things, you know there are deep problems. What do United fans really think? United fans are going through a range of emotions right now. Frustration, anger, confusion, disappointment. They have been on this roller coaster many times before. New manager arrives with big promises. Everyone gets excited. Things start okay, then gradually get worse. Eventually, the manager gets fired and the whole cycle starts again. Many fans are starting to wonder if the problem goes deeper than just the manager. Maybe it is the way the club is run. Maybe it is the pressure that comes with managing United. Maybe it is the expectation that success should come immediately. Some fans still believe in Amorim and think he should be given more time. They point out that he was successful at Sporting CP and deserves a chance to prove himself at United. Others are already calling for him to be replaced. They are tired of watching their team struggle against opponents they should beat easily. The division among fans makes the situation even more difficult. When the supporters are not united behind the manager, it creates additional pressure and negativity. Learning from other clubs. What can United do? Manchester United are not the first big club to struggle with a new manager. Other teams have gone through similar problems and found ways to recover. What can United learn from these examples? One lesson is that sometimes it takes time for new ideas to work. Players need time to understand different tactics and ways of playing. But how much time is reasonable? And how bad can results get while everyone is learning? Another lesson is that buying new players is not always the answer. Team chemistry is important, and this takes time to develop. Maybe United have signed too many new players too quickly. The most important lesson might be that success requires patience. But patience is hard when you are losing to teams like Grimsby Town. Some clubs have succeeded by sticking with their manager through difficult periods. Others have succeeded by making quick changes when things were not working. There is no single formula for success. The bigger picture. What is wrong with United? The problems at Manchester United go beyond just one manager or one group of players. The club has been struggling for over a decade now, ever since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. Different managers have tried different approaches. Some focused on attacking football. Others tried to be more defensive. Some bought young players. Others went for experienced stars. None of them have been able to recreate the success of the Ferguson era. Maybe the expectations are too high. Maybe the modern game is too different from how United used to play. Maybe the club needs to accept that they cannot just spend their way back to the top. There are also questions about how the club is run. Are the right people making decisions about players and tactics? Are they giving managers enough time to implement their ideas? Are they buying the right type of players? These are complex questions without simple answers. But until United addresses these deeper issues, they will probably continue to struggle, regardless of who is managing the team. Signs of hope. Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Despite all the problems, there are still reasons to be optimistic about Manchester United's future. The club has incredible history and passionate fans. They have financial resources that most teams can only dream of. They also have some very talented players who are capable of much better performances than they have shown recently. Sometimes in football, things can change very quickly. Ruben Amorim is still a good manager, even if things are not working right now. He proved his ability at Sporting CP, and those skills have not disappeared overnight. Maybe he just needs more time to adapt to English football. The board seems willing to give him that time, at least for now. This stability could be exactly what the club needs after years of constant changes. And sometimes in football, one good result can change everything. One moment of brilliance can restore confidence. One tactical change can transform a struggling team. The road ahead. What happens next? Nobody knows exactly what will happen next at Manchester United. Will Amorim survive the immediate pressure? He needs to find a way to connect with his players. He needs to simplify his message and focus on the basics. Most importantly, he needs to restore confidence in a group that looks afraid to make mistakes. If he does not survive, United will be back where they started. Another failed appointment, more money wasted, and more questions about what is wrong with the club. Separating fact from fiction. What we really know. Let me be clear about something important. Some of the stories you read about Manchester United might not be completely accurate. Social media and some websites sometimes exaggerate things to get attention. The basic facts are these. United have been struggling under Amorim. They lost embarrassingly to Grimsby Town. The manager has made some concerning comments about his team. There are reports of dressing room problems. Final thoughts. The truth about United's crisis. So where does this leave Manchester United and Ruben Amorim? The situation is serious, but maybe not as dramatic as some reports suggest. Amorim is under pressure, but he still has support from the board. The players might have concerns, but there is no clear evidence of a full revolt. The team is struggling, but they have the talent to improve. The loss to Grimsby Town was embarrassing and unacceptable. But it was also just one match. Football history is full of shocking upsets that did not define entire seasons or careers. For Amorim, the next few weeks are crucial. He needs to show that he can get better performances from his players. He needs to prove that his methods can work in English football. For the players, this is a chance to show their character and professionalism. They need to take responsibility for their performances and start playing to their potential. For the board and fans, this is a test of patience and support. Constant changes have not worked in the past. Maybe this time they need to stick with their choice and give him the tools to succeed. The story of Ruben Amorim at Manchester United is still being written. Nobody knows how it will end. But one thing is certain. Everyone involved needs to be better than they have been so far. Will Amorim turn things around and become the manager United have been looking for? Or will he become another name on the long list of failed appointments? Only time will tell. But for now, United fans can only watch, hope, and dream that better days are coming. Because despite all the problems and disappointments, they still believe that their club can return to the top of English football. The question is not whether Manchester United will be great again. The question is when, and who will be the manager to make it happen. Could it be Ruben Amorim? We are about to find out. The Grimsby nightmare, what actually happened? To understand where we are, we have to talk about what happened in midweek. For those who might have missed it, or for those who are trying to forget it, let us break it down. Manchester United travelled to face Grimsby Town in the Carabao Cup. Grimsby is a proud club with a great history, but they play in League Two. That is the fourth tier of English football. The difference in resources between the two clubs is enormous. This should have been a routine win. A chance for some players to get some minutes and build confidence. It was anything but routine. From the very first whistle, something was wrong. The team looked slow. They looked uninterested. They looked, as Amorim himself would later say, completely lost. Grimsby, to their huge credit, fought for everything. They wanted it more. And they shocked everyone by scoring 2 goals. Our team did manage to fight back to 2-2, forcing a penalty shootout. But the damage was already done. The shootout was long and nervous. It went on and on for 26 penalties. And through it all, the TV cameras kept showing Ruben Amorim. He was sitting in the dugout, not watching. He just stared at the ground in front of him. He looked like a broken man. When he spoke to the media after the game, his words were shocking. He said the players spoke really loudly about what they want today by starting the game without any intensity. It was a clear message from the manager. He was blaming the players for a lack of effort and heart. That is a very serious thing for a manager to say publicly. It opens up a door to problems that is very hard to close. The big question: what do the players think? This is maybe the most important part of the whole story. A football team is like a company. The manager is the boss. The players are the employees. If the employees stop believing in the boss and his plan, the company is in big trouble. According to reports, some players in the dressing room are starting to have serious doubts about Ruben Amorim. They have apparently questioned his tactics and his man management. What does that mean? Let us think about it. Tactics. Amorim came in with a very specific way of playing. It worked brilliantly for him at Sporting CP. But some players might feel that his system is too rigid. That he does not change it enough to suit the players we have or to counter the team we are playing. They might feel confused about their roles on the pitch. After the Grimsby game, Amorim said the players looked lost. That suggests the tactics are not getting through. Man management. This is about how a manager deals with his players personally. Does he talk to them? Does he motivate them? Does he understand them? Some players might feel that Amorim is not connecting with them. That his style is too strict or that he does not communicate his ideas clearly. When a manager loses the dressing room, it is often about man management more than anything else. Now, think about what Amorim said after the game. He basically said the players did not try hard enough. That is a huge accusation. How do you think those players felt hearing that? Would you be motivated to run through a wall for a manager who says that about you in public? It creates a divide. An us versus them situation. And that is a poison for any football club. But wait, the board is still backing him? Here is where it gets confusing. While there seems to be trouble with the players, the people at the very top are saying something different. The report from the Times says that the Manchester United board will not sack Ruben Amorim before the Burnley game this weekend. They say he still has the backing of the board and of Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself. Why would they do that? After such a bad loss? It actually makes some sense if you think about it. First, they just hired him 10 months ago. They spent £21 million just to get him out of his old contract and bring him to Manchester. Then they spent another £200 million on new players for him this summer. Sacking him now would be admitting a very expensive mistake. It would make them look foolish. Second, the board might truly believe in a long-term project. We have all complained for years about the club having no plan. We sack a manager every 2 or 3 years. We never build anything. Maybe Ratcliffe and his team are trying to be different. Maybe they are saying, we know it is bad right now, but we need to stay the course. We need to give this man time to build his team and his style. Third, who would they even get to replace him right now? There are not many world-class managers just sitting around waiting for a phone call. Making a panic decision is how you end up with another bad hire. So the board is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They want to back their manager, but they cannot ignore the results forever. Their backing is not a forever promise. It is a for-now situation. This is the most dramatic part of the whole story. Usually, we talk about managers being sacked. But the reports are suggesting something else. They say there is a very real suggestion that Ruben Amorim could resign. Yes, you read that right. He might quit. He might walk away from the job himself. Why would he do that? Think about it from his point of view. He was a hero in Portugal. He was winning trophies with Sporting. He was loved. Now, he comes to England and he is in the middle of a firestorm. The results are bad. The media is on his back every day. And now, some of his own players might be turning against him. That is an incredibly stressful situation.